You ever sit in a quiet room and realize no one really knows how tired you are? Not tired like sleep, but tired of trying, tired of starting over, tired of pretending you're fine when you're not. If you're a man over 50, you might not talk about it. You keep it together, show up, do what's expected, but deep down you feel like something's gone missing. Love used to feel close. Now it feels far away, like something meant for someone else. You didn't stop caring, you just got tired of being the only one trying, tired of being misunderstood, tired of feeling like love is a test you keep failing. And if you're a woman watching a man you care about disappear into that silence, you're likely wondering what happened, why the warmth faded, why he stopped reaching for you. This quiet drift between men and women, it's happening all around us. A slow emotional recession, not because people don't want love, but because they don't know how to offer it anymore without getting hurt. It's not just your story, it's ours, and it's time we talked about it. So stay with me, because later, I want to share one idea, one truth, that just might help. You reconnect, even after years of feeling disconnected, and if this speaks to you, I'd love to hear your voice. Drop a comment and say, "This is me. I read every single one. You're not alone here. Let's begin." The quiet retreat, when you start to fade without meaning. You didn't walk away, not really. You just started pulling back, one quiet moment at a time. You stopped bringing things up, stopped asking the deeper questions. You still smiled, still showed up, but the part of you that used to reach out, that part got quiet. Not because you stopped caring, but because it started to feel like caring didn't matter anymore. Like no one really saw what it cost you just to keep trying. Maybe you opened up once, said what you felt, shared more than you were used to, and instead of feeling closer, things got more confusing, more tense. Maybe you were met with silence. Maybe you were told you were too much, or too closed off, or somehow both. So little by little, you stepped back. You told yourself it's better this way. Less drama, less disappointment, less feeling like you're always one sentence away from getting it wrong. And here's the part you rarely say out loud. You still want love, you still want to be held, to be understood, to be chosen, but not if it means guessing. Not if it means feeling like a failure in your own skin. So you choose the only kind of safety that's left, distance. And people around you think you've gone cold. They think you've stopped caring. But the truth is, you've just run out of ways to say, "I don't know how to fix this anymore." If this sounds like you, I want you to know you're not broken, you're human, and you're not the only one. Let's talk about why this keeps happening, and what's changed in the world that made love feel so complicated in the first place. A world that changed without warning. You didn't ask for everything to change. You just woke up one day and it had, the way people date, the way they talk to each other, even what love looks like now. It's not what it used to be. The roles you were taught to step into. Provider, protector, the one who keeps it together when everything's falling apart. Now you're not even sure where that version of you fits anymore. You remember a time when love felt clearer, when men knew what was expected, and even if it wasn't perfect, there was some kind of map to follow. You worked hard, stayed loyal, showed up. That meant something. But today, you walk into this modern dating world, swipe this, text that, read between the lines, and suddenly it feels like the rules changed while you were busy building a life, and no one stopped to explain them. What does it mean to provide for someone who's already spent years doing it all on her own? What does it mean to lead when leadership is now a loaded word? What does it mean to be a man when you're told to be softer but still strong, open but not too much? And so you hesitate, you second-guess yourself more than you used to. You stop saying the things you want to say because you're not sure how they'll land. You start playing it safe, and love, it starts to feel like a test you weren't given the answers to. You didn't change because you stopped caring. You changed because the world did, and you're still trying to figure out how to belong in it. Let's talk about what that confusion does to a man's heart, and what happens when someone finally gives it a name. When confusion turns into walls. You didn't plan to shut down. You didn't sit down one day and decide, "That's it. I'm done with love." It happened slowly, quietly. It started with confusion, trying to figure out how to show up in a world that keeps shifting beneath your feet. You were told to be more open, so you tried, you shared a little more. You let your guard down. You made space for her emotions. You listened. You offered the kind of presence they say women want. And still, something didn't land. Maybe you felt misunderstood. Maybe you were told it wasn't enough, or worse, too much. Maybe you opened your heart and got silence in return, or a shrug, or a look that made you question whether showing up like that was even welcome. So you stopped trying, not because you stopped caring, but because trying started to feel like failure. And little by little, you built a wall, not out of pride, but out of self-protection. You learned to keep it light, keep it surface level, keep it safe, because vulnerability now feels like handing someone a loaded weapon and hoping they don't use it. So you stay polite, present, but distant. You stop asking deeper questions. You stop sharing when something hurts. You stop reaching for her hand. You're still there, but your heart's behind a locked door because experience has taught you it's better to guard it than offer it and feel unseen. If you've ever wondered why things feel cold between you and someone you care about, maybe it's not distance. Maybe it's a man still sitting there quietly hoping someone might knock before walking away. Let's talk about what happens when that silence goes too long and how both sides end up feeling lost inside it. She feels it too, but doesn't know why she can feel it, even if she doesn't say it out loud. The way he goes quiet, the way conversations don't last as long, the way he's still there but harder to reach. She notices, she always has, but she doesn't bring it up. Not right away, because she doesn't want to push him. Because she's learned that when a man is hurting, asking too many questions can sometimes make him retreat even more. So she waits, she hopes, she watches. And after a while she starts asking herself questions she never used to ask. Did I say something wrong? Am I too much? Is he just tired? Or tired of me? Because here's the truth no one wants to talk about. She didn't sign up for distance. She still wants connection, still wants someone to look at her and actually see her. Not just as the woman who keeps everything running, not just as the one who's strong or fine all the time, but as a woman with her own needs, her own hopes, her own ache for closeness. She's not looking for a fairy tale. She doesn't need to be rescued, but she would love to be reached for. She still wants to be chosen, not out of obligation, but out of desire. She still wants someone to ask how her day was and actually wait for the answer. She still wants to be held, not because she's falling apart, but because it feels good to be wanted. But when he pulls back and doesn't explain why, she starts to wonder if something in her has gone invisible. And that's how two people who once cared deeply start drifting without meaning to. Let's talk about that space in between, and how so many couples end up there without ever choosing it. The same fear on both sides. Here's what no one tells you. It's not just one person pulling away. It's both. He stops trying, because trying feels like failing. She stops asking, because asking feels like chasing. He thinks he's protecting himself. She thinks she's being pushed away. And underneath all that silence is the same fear. It just sounds different depending on who you are. For him, it's the fear that he's no longer good at this, that no matter what he says or does, it's never quite right, that he's become replaceable, that he's lost whatever it was that used to make someone light up when he walked in the room. For her, it's the fear that she's become invisible, that no matter how kind, loyal, or loving she is, it won't be enough to bring someone close again. That time has taken the glow from her presence, that she still has warmth to give, but no one willing to stand in it. And because neither of them says it, neither of them hears it, because silence can feel like rejection even when it's really just pain. So they drift, two people who still care, standing on opposite ends of a bridge, waiting for the other to take the first step. But the truth is they both want the same thing. To be seen, to be chosen, to not have to beg for connection or prove their worth just to feel loved. This isn't about one person pulling back. It's about two hearts speaking the same language, but too afraid to say it out loud. And if we could just learn to name that fear instead of hiding it, maybe that would be the first step back toward each other. Let's talk about how we got so far apart and what it really takes to meet in the middle again. Why love feels harder than ever. It's not that you've stopped wanting love. It's that it's never felt more complicated. You used to meet someone over coffee, a slow conversation, a spark, a laugh that stayed with you. Now it feels like you're expected to perform. Be witty, be emotionally fluent, say everything, right in the first 5 minutes or be forgotten. And rejection? It doesn't just sting now, it sinks because you're not 20 anymore. You've lived things, lost things. You don't bounce back the same. You feel it deeper. For men over 50, dating doesn't feel like connection. It feels like auditioning. Swipe left, get ghosted, try again. Smile like you haven't been hurt. And for women, they've carried so much. They've shown up for everyone year after year. And now, when they finally ask to be seen, not as caregivers, not as strong, but as women, they're often met with silence. Technology promised us more connection, but somehow we've never felt more alone. You can send a message across the world in seconds, but you can't seem to reach the person sitting right beside you. And the saddest part, you both want the same thing. But life has made it hard to ask for. Too much pride, too much fear. Too many times it didn't work before. So you stay quiet. But that silence, it's not protection, it's distance. And distance doesn't heal anything. So the real question becomes this. Do you want to be safe or do you want to be close? Because you can't be both. Let's talk about how to come back, gently, from all the ways we've pulled away. What he still longs for but doesn't say out loud, ask a man over 50. What he wants now, and he might say something simple, I just want peace. But if you press gently, if you sit with the silence, you'll hear the truth underneath it. He wants to be chosen, not needed, not tolerated, chosen. Not for what he can do or fix or provide, but for who he still is, underneath it all. He wants someone who looks at him and sees more than responsibility, more than past mistakes, more than a man who's grown quieter with time. He wants to feel like his presence still matters. That, when he walks into a room, he still changes the temperature, that his laugh is still wanted, that his touch is still welcome, that someone still lights up when he enters the room, not because they have to, but because they want to. He doesn't need constant praise, but he does need to know that all he's carried, all he's survived, all he's tried to become, was seen. What he fears most isn't being alone. It's being next to someone and still feeling unseen. That's the part he rarely admits, because he's spent decades being strong, reliable, quiet. And now, even if his heart still aches to be held, he doesn't know how to ask for it without feeling foolish. But the ache doesn't go away. It just gets quieter, until someone finally says, you don't have to prove anything anymore, I see you just as you are. And that's when the walls start to fall. What she's still waiting for, but no one thinks to ask. She doesn't always say it out loud. She's learned not to. She's been the strong one, the reliable one, the woman who held everyone together when things fell apart. She's raised kids, supported partners, built a life with her own hands. She's proud of that. She should be. But strength comes at a cost, and under all that strength, she's still waiting for something simple and almost sacred to be seen. Not for what she does, but for who she is, not as the dependable one, or the practical one, or the one who always makes it work, but as a woman, a whole woman, with softness, with spark, with a deep, glowing need to be held, not because she's weak, but because she wants to be wanted. She wants to feel like her presence still makes someone pause. Like her voice still matters. Like her smile still stirs something in someone. She doesn't need perfection. She doesn't need saving. She just wants to feel like she still matters in a world that seems to move past her without looking. And when she gives love, because she still does, it's not shallow, it's not young, it's deep, loyal, fierce in a quiet way. The kind of love that's only possible after years of showing up. But even the strongest women get tired of reaching out and feeling alone in the stretch. So she stops asking, she stops hoping. She still gives, but with guarded hands, and inside. She's wondering if anyone will ever look at her again and really see her, just like the man on the other side of the room, wondering the same thing, where healing begins and how we find our way back. Most of the time, it doesn't end with a fight. It ends with silence. Two people sitting in the same room, both wondering how they got so far apart, both wanting to, be touched, both afraid to reach out first. He thinks she's tired of him, she thinks he doesn't care anymore. But here's the truth beneath it all. Neither of them wants to lose the other. They're just afraid of being the only one still, trying. And healing? It doesn't come from having the right words. It comes from being willing to sit in the discomfort and still say, I want us to matter again. You don't have to fix everything. You don't need a perfect apology or a flawless plan. You just need to show up, not with defenses, but with presence. Because real connection doesn't need fireworks, it just needs someone who stays. Someone who says, I'm still here, even after everything. I still care. Maybe that's what we've forgotten. That love, real love, isn't about getting it right every time. It's about returning softly, slowly, honestly. If you've pulled back or watched someone else drift away, maybe today's not about blame. Maybe it's about one small step back toward each other, a conversation, a touch, a moment of eye contact that says, I see you still. Because love never truly disappears. It just waits, beneath the silence, for someone to believe it's still worth reaching for. And it is. You're not alone, and it's not too late. If you've made it this far, I want you to hear something loud and clear. You are not broken, you are not invisible, and it's not too late to feel close to someone again. Maybe you've been carrying this distance for years. Maybe the silence between you and someone you love feels like a canyon. Maybe you've convinced yourself it's just easier this way, safer. But I promise you this, love hasn't left your life. It's still there, still waiting beneath all. The tiredness, the fear, the misunderstanding, it's just quieter now. And it's waiting for someone to speak first, and that someone could be you. Not with the perfect words, not with a grand gesture, just a hand placed gently on someone's shoulder, a question you haven't asked in a while, a message sent with honesty instead of pride. Sometimes that's all it takes to begin again. So if something in this message touched you, if you saw yourself in the silence, in the distance, in the hope, leave a comment. Just write, this is me, or share what this stirred up in you, because I read every single one. And I promise you're not the only one feeling this way. Let's keep this conversation going, not just because it's healing, but because the world needs more of this kind of honesty. And maybe, just maybe, the next chapter of love isn't about starting over. Maybe it's about starting real right here, right now.